This entitled mum has let her kids loose on a friend's home. Everything in their path is about to be destroyed. I hope insurance can cover entitled parents and their bratty kids, because they're going to need it. Happy birthday if today's your birthday, and on with the show. My gym has been pretty good about being safe and socially distanced, so I've started going back a couple times a week. Pre-pandemic, I coached youth sports. To be clear, not at this gym. Elsewhere, outdoors, on a field. Not in an even remotely gym-like setting. So I was in the gym, headphones on, and really in my zone going after it, on a rowing machine. I thought I'd seen a mother with a child pointing in my direction, but shut it out because there was no way they were pointing at me. Must be a coincidence. Those who've seen this machine know there are a ton of pinch points. You don't want to get your hands anywhere near it while it's moving, let alone while someone is slamming back and forth on it absent-mindedly. So you can imagine my absolute shock and panic when a little kid, no older than 6, was buzzing around behind me and saying my name. I had thought I heard my name through the headphones, but was sure I must be imagining that too. I was too focused on the set to really care. But nope, I opened my eyes and there's who after a second. I recognized from one of my teams. He's telling me about how they want to bounce a yoga ball around, and I'm like, that's awesome, sounds like a fun thing for you and your mum to do. While I'm thinking in the back of my mind, sounds unsanitary, I wonder why your mum brought you here and where she went. Thank goodness I didn't accidentally break all your fingers. So I'm looking for her, barely even remembering what she looks like, as I never knew this family all that well. Then I spot what must be her, because there's a woman with that distinct Karen haircut shuffling away, sheepishly glancing back every few seconds to be sure the kid is still with us, but then panickedly averting her gaze and trying to disappear into another room when we made eye contact. I've been so frustrated with losing my sports season, and having even personal trips to the gym become rare commodities, that my usual courteousness went right out the window. I ran over and flagged her down, kid in tow, and rather than needlessly argue with her, just gave her the benefit of the doubt and said, "Oh, your son had gotten lost. Here he is. Thanks, bye," and turned to go. But instead of just accepting, the stunt didn't work, and accepting my very generous offer of allowing her to save face, she tried to play dumb. "Oh, I know you. You're one of his coaches. Oh, that's too perfect because, you know, they had to shut down the daycare program until all this social distancing hooey is sorted out." I saw where she was going with this, so decided it was time to just be direct. Yeah, this gym isn't affiliated with the team. Like, at all. Not the childcare program, none of it. She tried to pull at my heartstrings with, "I guess I could just let him hang out by himself, but he likes you so much." Setting her manipulation tactics aside, I just went with, well, that's your call as the parent, but this really isn't a safe place to leave a kid unsupervised, hoping that would make it clear that if she did leave him to wander, I wasn't going to assume charge for him, out of any sense of obligation. Instead, credit to Karen, she managed to turn it around on me with, "Oh great, so you'll watch him then? Thank you so much." No, I won't do that, I'm here to work out. Or at least that's what I tried to say, but I got maybe 1/3 of the way through before Karen just walked away. So I don't have time for any of that. I took the kid to the front desk and reported him as a lost child. The staff are very professional, so they just smiled and took the kid by the hand and gave him a place to wait and didn't say anything beyond, "Oh, thanks so much for letting us know, we'll take care of it." But as I was leaving, I heard the clerk call into the back about Karen. So I stopped and made it look like I was leafing through pamphlets to overhear them. "Jenna, you're not gonna believe this. Remember that lady who was trying to leave her kid up here a minute ago? Yeah, that one complaining about the daycare closure because kids can't get the virus? Exactly, the same one. She just left her kid in the gym. I don't know where. Some girl brought her back up here because she was going around looking for his mum. Can you believe some people? Oh, I don't want to find her. You find her. I dealt with her the first time. I couldn't believe it. How anyone would, first of all, feel entitled to free childcare from people either utilizing a service they paid for, gym membership, or doing a different job on someone else's dollar, gym staff, is beyond me. But more than that, who entrusts their kids to strangers? Why is her workout so much more important than my workout or those ladies' jobs? When I walked by the desk nearly 40 minutes later, she was still arguing with these poor girls. I stuck around to try and catch any more juicy tidbits, but shortly after at that point, the actual gym owner appeared. I think she drove in especially to deal with Karen, and availed her of the "no children under 12 on the main floor" policy, which is now a posted sign. This is why we can't have nice things. Can you imagine someone being so entitled and annoying so many people that they actually have a permanent sign now up because of you, so that they stop behavior like yours? The sad thing is, she's probably proud of that fact. Every time she goes to the gym, she's like, that's because of me. I don't know why they didn't ban her for life. I think that would have been a much better option. Let me preface this by saying that I am very protective of my instruments. I have a bass, guitar, and drums. Also, this was before the Rona. So it started out like a regular dinner party for me and my best friend, who I'd invited before I remembered we were having a dinner party. My friends and I were playing a game he brought called Boss Monster, I think. And we were talking about video games and movies we liked, and generally doing normal teenage boy stuff. We were talking about podcasts and that stuff, when I started showing him some stick tricks I knew. Then I hear them. The dreaded quick-paced footsteps of children walking in the front door. Children that not only would ruin my night, but would do it with the help of a full-grown adult. Start Act 1, Scene 1, The Twilight Zone. Just kidding. But that night felt like an episode of The Twilight Zone. It'll come up later. My friend, who henceforth will be known as Bro, suggested we watch a movie because the kids would be occupied playing. And to give context, the kids were no younger than 8, and there were 3 of them. So Bro and I watched Shaun of the Dead. As I'm looking back, it wasn't the best thing to put on. So the 3 children come in. We'd made it through a part with bloody zombies, and they started freaking out. I paused it and told them to leave, and they wouldn't. I had 2 options: scare them or bore them. Luckily, The Twilight Zone can do both. Don't get me wrong, I love The Twilight Zone with all my heart, but if I was their age watching a black and white TV show, I'd have up and left the room. What episode is slow yet scary? Nightmare at 20,000 feet. I'm not explaining it, just go watch it. But one scene in particular gives me nightmares, and is the reason I have a semi-fear of windows, is the scene where the main character opens the curtain to see the gremlin standing there looking like every teenage girl with the freaking pouty lips. If you don't understand, I encourage you to go watch the episode. Episode 3, Season 5 of the Twilight Zone original series. Back to the story. As that scene was coming up, the children were getting bored. The main character was reaching for the curtain. I closed my eyes and covered my ears, but I heard the children react, and felt Bro jump a little. And as I'm writing this out, I realized I was being a major butthole. Don't scare kids like that. And it makes me cringe thinking that I could have scarred them, but no. The reaction I heard wasn't crying or screams, it was laughter. I will admit the gremlin does look kind of funny, but darn, kids are weird. Bro and I realized we weren't getting them out of here, so we decided to continue watching our movie on my iPad in my room. I will need to give you a layout for this to make sense. There is a hallway connection to my brother's room, and you have to go into my brother's room to get to mine. In other words, to get to my room you have to go through a door, and then you're in my room. I started showing Bro my distortion pedal for my guitar, and played Symphony of Destruction for him, when I heard heavier footsteps. The footsteps of an entitled parent. Turn down that devil music. Pardon me? Do I know you? Yes, I'm children's mom. Now turn down that devil music before I come in there and do it myself. She reaches my door and sees that it's me playing and not a recording. Can you stop, please? You sound really terrible. I hope you're not looking to play for a living. You really suck. Can I just say, yes, I do want to be a musician when I grow up, so that hit hard for me. Can you please just go join the adults outside? Not unless I can take your stupid instrument. What? No, leave. No, give me your darn guitar. I texted my mom and she came up and calmed EM down and coerced her to join the adults. I apologized to Bro and I had to go to the bathroom. In the bathroom, I heard it. The crash of a, well, crash cymbal. and really sloppy drumming. I got 2 texts. Did you go to the basement? Can you please not play right now? So yes, my drums are in the basement, but a different room than the one the kids were playing in. But they're connected. At least one kid decided to go into the room my drums are in and started fiddling with them. I finished up in the bathroom to see my friend walking down the stairs. He sees me and I say one word, go. He knew what I meant, and seeing me, he knew who was playing the drums. He started going quickly down the stairs with me, right behind him, stopped at the bottom for me, and we kept going. We burst into the room my drums are in to stop the kids. I know what you're thinking. They're just kids who don't know what they're doing. We made multiple signs saying, don't go in here please, this area is off limits, stuff like that. We got into the room to find one of them standing on the floor tom and another on the snare. The last was just sitting on the throne. Not too bad, but I noticed something through the bass drum head. A freaking drumstick. How do you even do that? I was really ticked. I got them out and went upstairs again with bro. Later, my dad called us down for dinner, separate from the adults, and let me explain real quick. My room is right above the kitchen, and you can hear footsteps in the kitchen. And that's what I did, hear footsteps. I was worried, but I tried to keep my cool. Then I heard another crash. Not from a cymbal, from a guitar. Then another, from a Lego. Then a third, much fainter one, from a record. Bro and I ran upstairs to see the carnage. My guitar on the floor with a snapped high E string, a child next to it, and a cut on his hand. Surprisingly string-like. My Lego 8080 on the ground in pieces, and my London Calling record in the ground, in pieces. But there were only 2 children. Where was the third? That's when I heard it. A final crash, this time of a cymbal, but it's different. I ran downstairs to see my cymbal cracked. It's not that big of a problem, but the child ran to my room with their siblings. I immediately started yelling at them. That attracted the attention of EM. She ran in, saw her brats crying and slapped me. I was stunned, but luckily my mum was right behind EM and kicked her and her brats out. And I forgot what happened after, but EM was never invited back. If you wanted to know what happened to that child's arm, the string snapped onto their arm. It's happened to me before, and it sucks. Situations like that really suck because you feel so out of control. You know, you can put signs up saying, don't go in here and things like that, but entitled brats are not gonna really care about that, if they can even read at all. The most frustrating thing though is the entitled parent not disciplining their kids and not caring about their behavior. It's probably why they behave like that in the first place. In the cast, D, my poor innocent dad, EK, entitled kid, but he's like a full-grown adult, EM, this entitled woman. For some context, me and my dad are windsurfers. It isn't a serious hobby to where we are both professionals, but we aren't exactly beginners, so we don't need lessons and have our own kit to travel and windsurf whenever we can. On the particular day, we decided to travel 4 hours to our now usual windsurfing location at a sea harbour, since it wasn't deep waters, so it was easy to sail on and stand when you fall. Great winds, and the tide was on our side, but most importantly, it was the only location kinda open due to lockdown restrictions, hence why we travelled for over 4 hours. A final piece of information is that I have autism. I am not great on social communication in hostile situations, and can really get insecure, quiet among others, which will prove to be important in the story. So on the day of the windsurfing, me and D had gotten up at 5:30 AM in the morning to pack up our gear and head to the location on the south coast, and we were both tired when we arrived, and not really in the mood for BS, and just wanted to get onto the water as soon as possible for that sweet adrenaline rush. So me and D were unpacking the car when this car pulled up behind us beeping. At first I thought our gear was in the way, so went to the back of the car, but no, there was nothing there, so proceeded to go to the car and ask, anything wrong? I was thinking that once more it was a gear issue, or the lady was lost or something, but she rolls down her window, looks me dead in the eye, and says, you need to move. My son needs that spot to set up his windsurfing gear, and he deserves that spot. Admittedly, windsurfing gear can be heavy depending on your rig, But we had already started to unload and had the best spot since the setup area was in front, meaning it would take us less time. And me and D had 2 gears to rig, so we weren't moving. With that in mind, I look at the lady and go, "Sorry, we're already setting up, but you can stay parked behind. It isn't that far to move your kit." The lady gave me the death stare, but I shrugged it off and got back to helping unload the car and get changed into a dreaded wetsuit. I hate wetsuits. Now there aren't changing rooms at this location, so me and D always have our swim stuff underneath our clothes and change at the location. So as I proceeded to strip on down, Demon Lady strikes again. "Excuse me, could you cover up and change somewhere else? My son will get offended, and it is inappropriate for a woman to change in the presence of public." Okay, so I am annoyed. I am a tomboy and honestly don't give a flying frick of people around me. And it wasn't as if I was naked and flaunting my body around. I was covered and just trying to get a wetsuit on. So I look at the woman and calmly say, "Then why are you looking at me? Your son doesn't need to look. Just mind your own business and leave me alone." I kinda moved away before she could start on me again. And then once my dad set up my rig, we got it into the water and ready. As I went to grab my gloves and life jacket, EK started to come into the picture. "This stupid sail isn't working. I can't do it, Mom. Could you help me with this worthless piece of junk?" I looked at the progress and his kit, and it was brand new. Like people, it cost thousands for that kind of rig, and if he can't set it up, he shouldn't have bought it. Anyway, EM replied, "Okay, sweetie, how about we ask those 2 people to do it for you?" Gesturing to me and my dad. In the end, my dad came over to help the struggling kid. I grabbed my kit and got to windsurfing to enjoy my day with my 4-meter sail. You would think that I was finished, but no. Once the EK got his gear set up and into the water, my day would be ruined. Now, as I said, this kid had a new kit and couldn't set up his own gear, which should have been a red flag, but I waved it off like an idiot. This EK couldn't windsurf. He had a very new top-of-the-line 5-meter sail and board setup, and that is the worst decision for a beginner in 20+ mile/hour winds without a harness. So this EK ate crap. He was flying and falling off his board and spent more time in the water than windsurfing, which wouldn't be an issue if he wasn't in my sailing path. Now, I stated I am not a pro. I can windsurf, but I'm still learning how to turn properly and avoid hitting people, so it became an annoyance when this little crap would conveniently be in my area, which caused me to drop sail and fall into the water to avoid hitting him. On other occasions, his sail would hit my board, would crash into mine, and I was drinking salt water. My dad was nowhere to be seen, cause once he was rigged, he was gone windsurfing. The worst part was how EM was egging him on. Like, "Yes, sweetie, you're doing so well. Make sure to get in the way of that stupid lady." And I even overheard her telling her own son to hit her and stop her having fun, cause she stopped you. When I almost hit the EK, who was like 18+ by the way, she would be screaming like a banshee telling me to stop trying to hurt her boy. It was getting too annoying, and after hours, I carried my rig out of the water for a break. Think it's over yet? Nah, still got the final act. So as I got all my rig out of the water and walked to our car to grab my lunch, this EM came over to me and not asked but demanded, "Give my son your sail. He is struggling and needs your windsurf stuff to stay on board." Okay, just no. My gear may be a little older, but it's still worth hundreds. Plus, it's during a virus pandemic, so I was not handing over my gear. Plus, this woman was rude and demanding, which made my anxiety rise since she was becoming more hostile. I responded with, "I'm sorry, but I can't. If he is struggling, there is classes down the road and he could sign up to learn." She stopped me. "My son doesn't need classes. He is amazing, but you keep getting in his way and almost hurting him. So you are going to give him your sail so he can windsurf whilst you sit out since you aren't using the stuff." "No, I'm not letting you." I walked away as she screamed at me, put my lunch in the car, grabbed my rig, and moved to a different spot in the end, to windsurf until it was time to go home. And when I got back, the EM and DK were gone, and I was left to tell my dad everything about what happened, which made him angry and mortified. In the end, we got home and I just passed out, cause ain't nobody got time for Karen. I don't know too much about windsurfing, but I can't imagine that it's just 100% completely safe for a beginner. I imagine that's even worse if you think you know what you're doing when you really don't. It sounds like the mum just was embarrassed that her son didn't actually know what he was doing when she thought he did. I'm not sure how somehow stealing the other person's gear is supposed to make you better, but okay. Submit your story to be read on the channel at voiceyherestories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright, Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.